rolling down the real Oregon Trail in a covered wagon. As Today's Wild West visits Casper, Wyoming, we'll check out the National Historic Trails Museum. Step back in time at Fort Caspar.
Pretty amazing family.
And go shopping at a huge Western store founded 100 years ago. Plus, the beautiful moccasin art of native artist John Murie. It's all next on Today's Wild West. The Wild West. It's still out there. And we'll show you how to find it. This is Today's Wild West.
You guys gotta tell your family goodbye. We're gonna not see anybody for a long time.
The Oregon Trail, the legendary historic highway of the pioneer wagon trains of the 1800s.
Yes, we'll be on the actual Oregon Trail as we go through here.
Today, you can ride an authentic covered wagon or ride a horse as an outrider on the same ground where all those wagons rolled, thanks to Historic Trails West.
What I really enjoy is giving the people that come out the experience and giving them an opportunity to give a little feel about it.
Hop in the wagon, hit the trail, and you quickly realize this was one rough ride. But the fact is, very few pioneers actually rode in the wagons. Most of the men, women, and children walked to lighten the load for their precious oxen, mules, or horses that pulled those wagons, 10 to 15 miles a day for 5 months.
Said have a tremendous amount of respect for those that made the trip. And then we read in the visitor center that 1 out of 5 women were pregnant when they made the trip, and it just blows our mind.
We did the whole thing.
In 1993, Morris Carter took 4 wagons on the entire 2,600-mile Oregon Trail.
The first 30 days out of the first 31 days were rain, hail, and tornadoes.
During the 150th anniversary of the very first wagon train that rolled west in 1843.
My mother was a homesteader's daughter that grew up driving teams.
Wagon training runs in his blood.
My grandfather drove 12 head of horses pulling 2 wagons on what was called a jerk line team.
It's often debated just what kind of wagons were actually used back in the day.
And so I asked old timers who they said, whatever you make will be just as authentic as what they did, because many of them made their own wagons.
Morris built this wagon and the other 3 he used on the trip to Oregon.
And in the heyday of the trail, there were 2,000 wagon makers.
Get up there, Mike. And Mike's kind of our lazy got horse. He doesn't like to pull as much, and Jordan, he's kind of the hog.
Today, his niece Jamie Forbes holds the reins on our ride.
I've helped my uncle for 28 years. So Jordan, he'll pull too much, and Mike don't pull enough. Most of our ancestors come over on the Oregon Trail.
Historic Trails West offers 3 to 5 day wagon train overnight adventures that follow the actual trail, complete with a river crossing. Or you can take a 2 to 3 hour day ride. Either way, you'll learn some history about the trail.
They'd come in and make a big oval because that's how they made their corrals. So they didn't have to go round them up every morning.
There's also an option to stay for dinner, spend the night in a teepee, and learn a little about pioneer cooking with a Dutch oven.
And it was called an oven because you had fire underneath, fire on top, and then another one on top of it. So it was actually heating from the top and the bottom.
What kind of horses are they?
These are Percheron horses. So this is one of the type of horse that's bred to pull. Easy boy.
How'd you guys like your trip on the Oregon Trail?
Just incredible.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
A little bumpy.
A little bumpy,
but very interesting.
Mike Jordan, up. Watch it, boy.
During the 1800s, an estimated 500,000 people made the dangerous and often deadly trek on the Oregon Trail, where thousands died along the way.
They were tough, and they got a lot tougher.
But those pioneers also experienced a unique time and place in the history of the American West.
The 1843 wagon train wrote about having to wait 2 days for the buffalo to go by so they could continue on.
And now you can get a taste of what that was like, riding an authentic covered wagon on the real Oregon Trail. Between 1840 and 1870, about 500,000 men, women, and children went west on the Oregon, California, and Mormon Trail. All of those trails went right through what is today Casper, Wyoming, the perfect location for the National Historic Trails Interpretive Center.
All these pioneer trails converged and came right through where we are here today. 500,000 people heading west.
You won't just learn that Western history here, you can actually experience it. Like pulling a Mormon handcart across the plains.
Imagine the sand in your eyes, okay? And again, is it flat outside? Is the terrain rough?
Y'all right? Or make it dangerous river crossing on a covered wagon.
We want the excitement, we want the noises, we want kids and adults walking out of here excited about history. To give you a feel of what the pioneers went through as they headed west. They would take these buffalo chips, collect them, gather them, and then they would use it for fire.
You get that feel because here you're welcome to touch, like a real buffalo bladder that the Indians used as a water bottle.
Pretty cool, right? Now they would clean all these parts out, of course, to make them usable, all right?
And handle the other parts of the massive animal that were shaped into buffalo horn spoons, hide moccasins, and many other items. The Native American Gallery is the first of 6 lifelike dioramas telling the story of the historic trails and those who followed them, beginning with the mountain men and the missionaries, and later the caravans of covered wagons.
Oxen were preferred. They could pull more, they were stronger animals, and they could really subsist off the land out here a lot better than the horses and the mules.
And you could eat them if you got in a pinch.
Yes, you sure could, right?
There's an exhibit depicting the daring riders of the Pony Express.
We're talking a brief period in time.
Gallop down these same trails, outfitted with a pistol, a Bible, and a light saddle specially designed to carry the mail.
It connected our country east to west at a time when things were getting real difficult, especially with the Civil War.
The slower moving pioneers often took time to leave their mark along the trail, carving their name on places like Independence Rock, which you can visit today about an hour southwest of Casper. You can see replicas of those stone autographs at the Interpretive Center, where you can also sign up for a trail trek, field trips to actual sites along the Oregon Trail, where you can still see the wagon ruts cut by all those wheels rolling west.
People were here, they had feelings, and we're just trying to make that connection from then to now.
The many fascinating offerings within the Interpretive Center
All situated?
Yep.
All right, Charlie, Dan, let's go.
are designed to jumpstart your interest in this epic chapter of Western history, those legendary trails of the Old West.
It's definitely important to remember because we learn from our past, and we want to keep that history alive.
And there's an added bonus. Admission is free. Casper actually began as Fort Caspar, where the Old West comes back to life every summer. Welcome to Fort Caspar, Wyoming, in the 1860s.
Strike. Develop. Recover.
Soldiers drill. The cavalry trains.
3, 2, 1, fire!
And the artillery practices.
What we're hoping is to give people just a little bit of a glimpse of what life would have been like during the 1860s when people were living out here.
On this hot summer weekend in the 21st century,
Pressure, I got pressure.
Wyoming's Fort Caspar Museum is hosting Casper Collins Day. Today's Fort Caspar looks pretty much like the one that stood here back in the 1860s. That's because the reconstruction was based upon the blueprints left behind by the man the fort is named for, Lieutenant Casper Collins.
Casper Collins was a pretty good artist and draftsman.
Collins was a 20-year-old in the 1860s, a second lieutenant in the U.S. Cavalry, stationed at this remote army post near a critical Oregon Trail wagon bridge over the North Platte River. And in his spare time, Collins drew blueprints of the fort that were used to recreate it in 1936.
So in 1936, they had an 1864 blueprint. So I know where the windows were, where the doors were, where the fireplaces were. This is exactly what was here, and we are on the original location.
Take a peek inside the buildings, and they're all furnished as they would have been in the 1860s.
And this is a nice site.
It's great fun for reenactors.
This really is. I like coming here. the buildings here. Sometimes we get to live inside the buildings. So it kind of steps me back to 1866.
So strike, develop, recover.
Robert Cuevas plays the sergeant leading his soldiers through the Army's 19th century bayonet drills.
When you actually put the uniform on, you become part of history. And so you kind of, for a very short period of time, feel what they felt. And so it makes those books, those journals, and everything from them from back then come back to life. Look at your chest, right there.
Form on me!
Elsewhere on the post, the cavalry trains.
This is just some of the basic drills they did. Just kind of a day in the life of a cav trooper out west.
Gallop! March!
Wearing wool uniforms horseback under the blazing summer sun gives you a taste of what it was like to be a horse soldier.
Forward! Guard! Oh! That's what we do.
The only way to remember history is to tie emotion to history. And so the way to do that is to feel the fabric and to sit in the saddle and to smell the sweat from the horse and the tools and the equipment they used more than 150 years ago.
You're smelling the sweat today, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Feeling the sweat.
Feeling the sweat.
Shooting cannons is fun.
Steps away the artillery practices with what's commonly called a cannon, but more accurately known as a field howitzer.
So that's a real working howitzer.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it does everything the originals did.
Well, let's go over the implements that we use.
These are not simple to operate.
So there's going to be debris that's left in the bore from the powder bag. So what you want to do is you run this down, then you're going to spin it around, and you're going to pull the debris out. So then we would take the sponge.
And it takes an expert crew to safely fire even the blanks blasted here today.
So then I would...
So these are pretty labor intensive.
Yes.
These men and women really know their stuff.
This is the rear sight, and it tilts, so if you're on the side of a hill or something, it'll always be level.
3, 2.
Of course, the fun part is pulling the trigger.
Oh, love it, love it, love it. That was awesome.
So scary. I liked it.
You liked it?
There are quieter pleasures here as well, like getting to meet the horses.
They're beautiful. Thanks.
The horses earn their keep, hauling away the howitzer after the last shot is fired. It's fascinating to get this glimpse of life into the 1860s, but this life was not easy.
Harsh. It would have been a tough existence. There's not another fort for 50 miles that direction and 30 miles that direction. And when this fort starts, you're looking at 25 guys. So these guys, it would have been out here, alone, so to speak.
And the men stationed here were in the Army, in a war with the surrounding Indian nations, fighting to preserve their very way of life.
Summer of 1865, there was trouble between the Army and the American Indians all up and down the trail, all around, as a direct result of the Sand Creek Massacre the previous winter.
Casper Collins was killed July 25, 1865, during an Indian attack on the small detachment he led to protect an incoming wagon train carrying supplies to the fort. The wagon train was attacked that afternoon, and only 3 of its 25 men survived.
As a result of the young lieutenant being killed, the Army changes the name of this fort from Plattbridge Station to Fort Caspar, using his first name because there's already Fort Collins that was named after his dad. And in the process of doing that, they spelled his name wrong, which is why you see the difference in spellings between the Casper now, C-A-S-P-E-R, and the museum, which is C-A-S-P-A-R.
The Indian Wars are, of course, long over, and the fort now stands within the modern city of Casper, Wyoming.
Forward to walk! March!
But for one weekend in July, Fort Caspar comes back to life.
3, 2, 1, fire!
Providing a unique opportunity to step back in time and into a different world and experience the living history of the American West.
There's your Levi 501 shrink to fits.
There are 10,000 pairs of jeans.
Size 60 by 30.
In every size you can imagine.
That's a 29 by 44. I have it in regular fit and slim fit. If I can't fit you, I don't know that you could be fit. And if I don't have it,
and they make it, I'll get it for you.
Welcome to Taubert Ranch Outfitters.
Oh man, I got over 10,000 pair of jeans, probably more than that. I got 10,000 pair of boots, so men's, women's, and children's. So jeans, I don't know. Maybe one of these days when I have time, I'll count them.
9 floors of virtually any kind of Western wear and cowboy gear you can think of.
You find bigger boot stores and maybe bigger hat stores, but a complete Western store that carries men's, women's, and children's and tack and saddlery, I think there sure wouldn't be many.
This third-generation family business, an institution in downtown Casper, Wyoming, began more than 100 years ago in Germany.
This would be my grandfather right here.
Where young Kurt Taubert dreamed of going to America and being a cowboy.
He ran away from home, and I think he was 14 or 15.
Born in 1890, Kurt was working on a cargo ship as a 16-year-old, sailing to Africa and other ports before finally arriving in America in 1910.
From New York, he got on a prairie schooner, headed to Wyoming, and he got off and worked for the Swan Land and Livestock Company, a big outfit back in that time.
But the adventurous young man soon launched his own outfit in Fort Laramie, Wyoming.
That was started in 1919.
C.W. Taubert Hardware and Implements.
Guys sold turpentine and gloves, harnesses, whatever it took.
When C.W.'s son Lou returned home from World War II, the two became partners, moved the store to Casper, and gave it a new name. Taubert Ranch Outfitters opened in 1947, prospered, and grew.
Down the line, we bought this old department store that was next to us here and broke a hole through the wall. And we kept expanding.
I grew up as a little girl at 5 years old, coming to work.
Lou and his bride Pauline had 6 kids.
We would straighten the jeans, empty the trash.
Who all grew up in the business.
Helping my dad and my mother.
Run it today and wouldn't have it any other way.
We are so blessed. We love what we do.
Their dad passed away in 2000 at age 82. But his presence is felt here every day.
I think about him all the time. Up there he is. He's watching over all of us here. Yes.
We met Pauline when she was about to turn 98. Still going strong, still going to work every day, as are her children.
I don't know which good-looking cowboy is me.
Who speak often of their father.
But our dad had us dressed to the nines.
And love running the family legacy he left them.
I still drive this. Drove it to work this morning, this 1959 Ford pickup truck.
It's all about merchandising, and I feel like I got that gift from my father, and I love to do the windows.
Remember store windows?
It's really your silent salesman.
They're alive and well at Taubert.
We love taking that item out of the window and selling that item. It's really fun.
It's been here as long as I've been here, and it's got great selections and great products.
This family business is refreshingly old school. No computers.
We had to put one in for UPS, but other than that, we don't have computers. All the inventories in our mind or our belly, and we take physical inventories.
And the inventory is massive.
We pride ourselves in having inventory. My dad always said he'd rather have money in inventory than money in the bank.
Even the cash register is old school.
Part of the mystique of the store is when you go to the register, these old ticket machines, they're probably 60 years old.
There is a website, but you can't buy anything on it.
We have no desire to sell online. It's a completely different business. We love the hands-on, the customer service, touch, feel, get to enjoy the person, get to know that person, count change back to them, and see the rewards of them finding and selecting the perfect purchase.
Taubert is all about the personal touch and the personal fit.
Our theory in our boot room is to try and fit boots other than sell them. Doesn't matter what you pay for a pair of boots. If it doesn't fit, it's not worth it. I think it's real important that a person get fit right. You know, to get fit right, you need to have the foot here.
Even their advertising is decidedly low-tech. Billboards along Interstate 25.
But they really work. So I bet I could look around, I can tell who might be from out of state, and I'll ask them what brought them in. I say, oh, your billboards did.
For all the old school business techniques, this is a happening place. We stopped by on a summer weekday morning, and the store was bustling with customers.
We are jam-packed, but we are so blessed that people want to come to Wyoming.
A lot of great local customers, but then we also have people from all over the country. I-25 is on the way to Yellowstone, and those billboards I told you about, bring them into town, and when they get here, I think they enjoy it. They enjoy the whole community.
I feel like we're the salt of the earth here. Honor, respect, enjoy the friendships, helping one another. It's a beautiful, beautiful country. Wyoming's wonderful, wonderful Wyoming.
And the spirit of this family that runs this place is warm, welcoming, and infectious.
We all get along pretty well. It's a pretty amazing family. I guess our dad and mom brought us up right. We don't seem to have any problems.
Plus, this is a very cool store.
There's something for everybody in the store. Something for everybody, yes.
For the ladies, there's Cowgirl by Lou Taubert.
I don't know of anybody that devotes 5,000 square feet to a really nice ladies' Western department.
You don't even have to be totally Western to shop up here. We have a lot of mainstream gift ideas, beautiful blouses, great denim department like you won't even find anywhere.
There's an entire floor for the working cowboy.
Head stalls, bits.
Tack, saddles.
Billy Cook has been my saddle of choice.
Chaps and ropes.
More or less I trade them.
Even used ones.
A lot of tourists like them. A lot of these guys wear ropes out. I always joke with them, if they can't catch with them, they bring them in and think it's the rope's fault.
Downstairs, there's an immense selection of cowboy hats.
We carry over 100 styles of hats.
With an expert who can shape that new hat any way you like.
Looks pretty good.
Plus, a fun kids department and outdoor gear as well.
Different type of customer, but it doesn't mean that a cowboy is not going to want a pair of hiking boots.
In a century-old business that's always being tweaked and improved.
Underneath the carpet, we found the old maple hardwood floors, so we've redone that.
A living legacy of that courageous grandfather and a beloved dad.
He didn't have a lot of pleasures. He didn't play golf. He didn't go on vacations. His pleasure was being at work, trying to make it better. He liked what he did, and he worked hard.
And his kids still do.
We still enjoy coming to work every morning.
You just immerse yourself into this wonderful, beautiful store that my father and grandfather created.
As long as we want to stay here, we're going to be here. And we still like what we do, so it's going to be a while.
Still to come, the beaded moccasins of native artist John Murie. Moccasins, the traditional footwear of the American Indian. But for Montana Chippewa-Cree artist John Murie, beads and buckskin are the canvas and paint he uses to create moccasins that are fine works of art that you can wear.
There's a lot of people that say, well, they're too nice to wear. So I think there's a lot of people, when they do get them, they go, oh, I can't wear these.
John is an art instructor at Stonechild College on north central Montana's Rocky Boy Indian Reservation. He grew up in a traditional native family.
My grandmother did a lot of beadwork, and she was pretty well known for it.
Watching his grandmother bead.
And then I was interested in.
Traditionally, few men spent time beading.
It was kind of a female thing to do, but I was just too interested in it to leave it alone.
As a young man, John was a competitive native dancer.
I needed to have beadwork.
Traveling to powwows across the country.
I was a perfectionist. I needed to have beadwork to be just so, otherwise I didn't want to wear it. So I figured if I was this picky, I better do it myself. And then a colleague of mine asked for a pair of moccasins. This was about the time Facebook was just now coming around. So I posted those once, and it just kind of took off from there.
John's lost track of how many pairs he's made since then.
Probably, I know, well over 100.
He posts photos of his newest creations on Instagram. Customers find him to commission their own custom-designed pair.
Anywhere from 1,000 to 2,500, depending on materials I use. They're just like any other shoe, you know, you wear them, and you wear them until they get worn out, and then you buy another pair. Yeah, people wear them.
There's all kinds of color in these beautiful works of art.
I consult with every customer, and they tell me which colors, and some of them will get very specific.
And designs inspired by the traditional life of the Plains Indian. Buffalo tracks, horseshoes.
The natives have always revered the horse, the power that it has and what it represents to us.
And stars.
The orange ones, I use cross stars a lot. We use a lot of stars in our designs, representing sometimes relatives, sometimes stories that we have about stars and what they represent. So I started with their foot pattern, and then I was able to go from her foot pattern and make this this pattern here that goes on top. That's this part of the moccasin here.
John has made moccasins from moose or buffalo hide, but usually uses brain-tanned deer hide, also known as buckskin.
I have an uncle that does traditional brain-tanned hides, smokes them and tans them. I know what it takes to do a hide, so I like to pay him what it's worth.
His work is inspired by timeless tradition.
I used to see my grandmother make this design all the time, but I put a little contemporary twist on it. I kind of separated the pattern here. You can see the turquoise separates the colors.
A pair of fully beaded moccasins can take 2 weeks, working 6 hours a day. But this time-consuming work can also be therapeutic.
You get lost in it. You get engulfed in the colors and the design, and you just keep going, and pretty soon it's 4 or 5 hours later. You know, sometimes I'll be till 4 in the morning, and I'll look up and I'll go, it's 4 in the morning, I better go to sleep.
John's had many invitations to exhibit his work at the nation's top Indian art shows, but his moccasins, usually a custom commission, sell as fast as he makes them.
There's a lot of people that say that stuff needs to be in the herd show, the Santa Fe Indian Market, all these different shows. And well, I wish I could, but I just don't have no work. So I got to find a way to get there.
John shares his knowledge with his creative students at Stone Child College.
It was great to teach young people the traditional skills that we should pass on.
Where he also teaches a variety of other art forms. But beaded moccasins are his mission. His message?
Like I said, we're still here, we're still create, and we're still relevant.
And his passion.
I get to create, just put it out there and have people see it and appreciate it. I have a lot of designs and color schemes in my head that are just going through all the time. I don't know how they would get out if I just didn't keep creating.
That's it for now. We're back next time with more cool stuff from today's Wild West. I'm Mark Bedore. We'll see you down the trail. For more information on the people and places featured in today's Wild West, or to order show DVDs and books, visit todayswildwest.com. Funding for Today's Wild West provided by the Leggett Foundation,